Hi everybody and welcome along. My name is Jim White and I'm alongside my colleague here at talkSPORT, our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. And you're welcome to this, the debut show of the talkSPORT Transfer Notebook. talkSPORT, as you know, is officially your home of the transfer window, and this man and myself will be bringing you unmatched coverage throughout January and into a little bit of February. We'll get to that, and we'll be right across all the movers and shakers, and there will be many of them throughout the coming weeks. We'll bring you who does what in what is another special transfer deadline month. Throughout the month, we'll be joined by journalists and former players to give you a unique insight, if you like, into what goes on when these transfers really do go down. Alex, everybody always says to me, what is this window going to be like? So I'll ask you, what will this window be like?
Well, I've got to say, coming into the window, I wasn't entirely convinced. You speak to agents, you speak to high-ranking officials of football clubs, and they all say, well, you know, it might be quiet because of the PSR concerns across the league. But actually, now we're into the throes of it, speaking to the same people, I think it will be busy. For a couple of reasons. There's clubs in need of surgery. You look at Tottenham. Obviously, their squad has been decimated by injury. Ange Postecoglou desperate to get people through the door. I think there's going to be a sea of change at Manchester United under Ruben Amorim. Probably more players leaving than coming in this window, but there'll be big stories there nonetheless. And then you look at some of those teams who find themselves in a position that maybe they didn't expect to be at the start of the season. Nottingham Forest, as we sit here, third in the Premier League. And we know that Marinakis is someone who isn't afraid to delve into the transfer market.
Yeah.
They've got their PSR issues resolved, so I think they'll be busy. Fulham, I think Marco Silva said to me a few days ago, he needs a bit of help in the window to sustain their European push. Bournemouth, I know, have some grand plans as well. And then obviously you're going to get your scramble down at the bottom of the table for those teams like Leicester who've got a new manager. They're going to back Ruud van Nistelrooy, Vitor Pereira, already trying to do business at Wolves to keep them in the division. And Arsenal, what do they do? Because they're still in it with a title shot. They're way behind Liverpool, we know that. Bukayo Saka out for a couple of months. Do they go for broke? Do they go for someone like Mohamed Kudus at West Ham, who's on their list, and try and give Mikel Arteta the funds and the resources to challenge for that Premier League trophy?
I'll ask you, Alex, a question I'm often asked around this time. How much do you enjoy the month of January when all the moving and shaking is going on? I mean, you must love it. I certainly do.
Absolutely. I enjoy it more than my kids. You know, they're always they're always relieved when the window closes and I can give them some attention. But yeah, it's great, isn't it? You know, you spend a lot of time building up these contacts, and really they come into their own in the summer window and in this month of January as well. So it's great fun. And talkSPORT obviously embrace it, and so do we.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun with this, and we're delighted to have you along as we wade through who may be doing some deals before we get to the deadline itself. The deadline itself is just nudged into February, isn't it?
Yeah,
let's be clear on that.
February the 3rd
right.
is when you and I will be on air, no doubt, on YouTube as the window slams shut. And as always, you know, we're going to have this whole month. There's going to be deals happening all the time, and we're going to get to the last day of the window, and there'll be a mad scramble. And there'll be a couple of big stories. We remember on summer transfer deadline day, Raheem Sterling looked like he was staying at Chelsea. All of a sudden, we got the information, actually, he's at Arsenal's training ground. This move is going to happen. That always happens on deadline day.
You're absolutely right. Alex, Liverpool lead the way, and they have been magnificent under Arne Slot. But Liverpool make the news, and I know you've been on talkSPORT proper in the slot that Simon and myself do. You've been on with Sam Matterface talking about the three being Trent, the three being Virgil van Dijk, the three being Salah, who make up the trio. What is the latest with them, but specifically on Trent?
Well, I've got to say, this is one of the fascinating elements of this window, not just the Liverpool three. No doubt we're going to talk about Marcus Rashford, as Kevin De Bruyne at Manchester City as well. Big name players who look like they're heading for the exit, or potentially heading for the exit in Trent Alexander-Arnold's case. I was in the pub trying to enjoy the New Year's festivities when I got the information that Real Madrid have been on the phone to Liverpool. It wasn't a formal bid. They haven't made a transfer offer, but they did ask the question to Liverpool, any chance that we can sign Trent Alexander-Arnold in this January window? The answer was a flat no from Liverpool. Will that be enough to keep them away? Will they come back with a formal offer? We shall find out. But what we do know is that now we're into the month of January, Trent Alexander-Arnold can discuss terms with Real Madrid. He can even go as far as to sign a pre-contracted agreement. And of the three, I think at this stage, he looks the most likely to depart.
I knew you'd be on the receiving end of that news because I know your contacts are great at Liverpool. And then we hear Paul Joyce in the Times, Real Madrid are considering testing Liverpool's resolve. They're talking about a second approach for the defender. That might involve 20 million quid being thrown at Liverpool. What is the likelihood of Liverpool doing business now? Not at the end of the season, but now.
I think slim, and for two reasons. We know that Trent Alexander-Arnold is so important to what they're trying to achieve. They're in a really strong position in the Champions League. They're going to get through to the last 16 of that competition and be one of the favourites potentially to win it again. They're top of the Premier League. They've got a lovely cushion over Arsenal with a game in hand. So I don't think they would destabilise that by selling one of their most important players. And crucially, I'm also told from sources close to Trent Alexander-Arnold himself, he's not keen to move mid-season either. If he is to join Real Madrid and become a Galactico, he wants to do that at the end of the season and not leave Liverpool in the lurch in January.
OK, so we're looking at the end of the season for Trent to make a move. Van Dijk, the captain, does he stay to lift the Premier League if they're going to do that?
I think he certainly stays to lift the Premier League. Again, I don't see a scenario where either Van Dijk or Salah go this window. And I think of the three, Liverpool appear most confident of keeping those two. I know negotiations, despite what Martin Keown wanted to believe on talkSPORT with Mo Salah have been going on for some time.
Yeah.
The same with Virgil van Dijk, and I think Liverpool are confident they can strike a deal with those two. And I guess the question for Liverpool fans, if you watch you on YouTube, let us know in the comments below, who's the most important to keep? Is it Mo Salah with all the goals and assists he's getting this season? Is it your leader Virgil van Dijk? Or is it your poster boy Trent Alexander-Arnold?
That's a great point. Mo Salah, where are we? What might happen with Salah? Is he going to be longer term at Liverpool, or is this the end on its way for Salah? Do you think now we're looking at the beginning of the end for him?
My gut instinct is that he'll stay, that they'll find a happy medium. I mentioned on talkSPORT a few weeks ago that he was pushing for a 3-year contract. Maybe Liverpool preferred a 2-year with the option of an extra year. He is their highest paid player. He wants to keep that status. But what makes this so interesting is that he's got two options really, Mo Salah. He goes to Saudi Arabia, and obviously being a Muslim, I think that attracts him to become this sort of Muslim superstar, to go over and play in the Saudi Pro League. Obviously that's going to come with a huge amount of money as well. Or he stays at Liverpool. I don't really see a third scenario. So it's a straight choice as far as Salah is concerned. With Van Dijk, the reason I think he'll stay is obviously we know he's out of contract. He said himself there is an offer on the table. And I'm not really hearing any whispers as to where he might end up if he doesn't stay at Liverpool. So I think Van Dijk will happen. Salah, I mean, he's flirting in the media, isn't he, with the idea of leaving. And I've got to say, it's not affected his form. He reminds me at the minute of Lionel Messi at that World Cup that we were at in Qatar, almost on a one-man mission to win that World Cup for Argentina. And I see that for Mo Salah, so that he's determined to protect his legacy. If he does leave Liverpool this summer, he's going to go out as a champion. And
let's just underline that before we move on, Alex. It's a great point you make. None of the talk around the three of those players is in any way looking like derailing Liverpool.
No.
None of it.
And credit to Richard Hughes and to Michael Edwards, who've inherited this situation really from their predecessors. I know they've got a bit of stick on social media, but it's not really a problem they've created. And credit to Arne Slot as well. I mean, he was a tough enough act to follow Jurgen Klopp with that hero status at Anfield. Not only has he followed it, he's built on what Jurgen Klopp achieved, and it looks like he's going to top it.
Yeah. We've got to concentrate on the two Manchester clubs for different reasons. But Manchester City have hit a blip, we know that, and it looks like they'll do business in this window. Be intriguing to find out what kind of business they end up doing. Manchester United. So we'll get to City in a moment. Where are United right now? Apart from close to oblivion under the new man Amorim.
You just need to put a red top over Old Trafford and you've got the full circus act, haven't you? It's a mess. Manchester United, and Ineos have been in situ for a year now, and I've been quite public of my condemnation of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the decisions that he's made, the bad decisions that he's made that have cost the club financially, sticking with Erik ten Hag, giving him a new contract, then having to pay him to go away and paying £11 million to get Ruben Amorim out of Sporting, spending millions of pounds and months courting Dan Ashworth and then deciding within 6 months that actually he's not the man, we're going to pay him to go away as well. All the time they're making some very cruel, in my opinion, cutbacks off the pitch. So I just don't see a scenario where Amorim is going to be able to strengthen too much in this window. There's talk of Victor Gyökeres for £80 million. I would be flabbergasted if Manchester United are in a position to do that deal, even if Gyökeres wants to come mid-season, which I'm told he doesn't. So I think the focus at Old Trafford is going to be on clearing the decks. Anthony, interest from Real Betis and his former club Ajax, so we're certainly going to keep tabs on that one. Casemiro, Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia are keen to sign him. I think United will be very willing to get him off the payroll. It's coming to the end for Christian Eriksen as well. I think we saw that against Newcastle on Monday. I think maybe they might bring in a new goalkeeper to bring a bit of competition for Onana, and Bayern Dia just isn't up to it for me. I think he showed that in that League Cup game against Spurs. So it's going to be interesting at United, but if United fans are watching this and thinking that Amorim's going to be given a blank cheque, it's not going to happen, guys.
United fans will be watching it, Alex, wanting some kind of a latest regarding Marcus Rashford. I mean, he gets in the squad the other night to play Newcastle. He doesn't get on the pitch, and they lose to Newcastle. So again, people are largely baffled by where Rashford is, if he is indeed anywhere still at Old Trafford.
Yeah, that was an odd one. I started to get whispers earlier in the day that Rashford will be included in the squad, mainly because they had so many absentees. But I think if you're going to make such a statement as to alienate a player from the first team, and then bring him back, and he was booed into the ground by some United fans, Rashford, which is incredible when you think about his legacy at the club, probably before the start of this season. But if you're going to do that and then not use him, I did think that was a little bit humiliating. But I think it tells you that Amorim just doesn't see him as someone who's going to fight his way back into the team. Maybe he's not showing enough still in training to prove the manager wrong. And I do think from the top of the football club, despite what the manager says, they want shot as well. But where does he go? He doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, I'm told. I don't see Arsenal, who've been mentioned. I don't see Mikel Arteta touching him with a barge pole. Tottenham, potentially, because I think he's linked up with the Stellar agency and they've got a good relationship with Daniel Levy. But again, they're not going to be able to pay anywhere near the wages that United are. The only way I see him leaving this month is if United agree to a Raheem Sterling type deal where they end up paying 80, 90% of his wages just to get him out of the football club.
That in actual fact, that when you say that, it kind of resonates with me that might be the way out, the best solution for all. And then he does move, albeit it costs United. But I think United must be in the mood to pay whatever they need to pay to get him shot.
Yeah, but they could do with a transfer fee because obviously Ratcliffe is making these cuts for a reason. They've spent badly in numerous transfer windows. The squad really isn't fit for purpose. I think we saw that against Newcastle. So if they could find someone to pay 30, 40 million, I think they'd bite their hands off. Keep an eye on some of the Spanish clubs as well, because I think he would like a move to La Liga. But again, Barcelona in all kinds of financial issues. I don't see him at Real Madrid. Could he go and work with Diego Simeone at Atletico? Is he disciplined enough for that? We'll see. Yeah.
Manchester United, 14th, as Alex and I speak to you today. Manchester City, just as baffling, I would suggest, 6th as we speak to you today. There has been a suggestion, and Pep made the suggestion himself, so when he speaks, we listen, that they will do business in this window. One wonders what kind of business and how much that might cost. Because if you're on the other end of a deal with Manchester City wanting one of your players, then you're in a great position, are you not?
Yeah, and that's always the problem with this January window, because clubs tend to know, selling clubs, that you're in a bit of a desperate situation. Certainly City, by their high standards, are in somewhat of a crisis. You mentioned it there, but they can still salvage the season. Probably not in terms of the Premier League. I think Liverpool are too far clear, but the Champions League, I mean, they're struggling to qualify for the round of 16, but if they get there, you would still say they've got enough quality at their disposal with some additions to maybe win that trophy. Dani Olmo's an interesting one at Barcelona because they can't register him. His agent was in Manchester for a holiday. Seemed a strange destination at this time of year, but I know when he was linked in the summer, my sources at City were saying, well, Dani Olmo not on our list at this moment in time. Could that change? I think central midfield has been a big problem. I know there are admirers of Bruno Guimaraes, but he'd be difficult to prize away from Newcastle in this window. Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace, who went there from Blackburn and made such an initial early impact, is another player the City have tracked for some time. He's had injury issues this season, but don't rule him out. And then there's Martin Zubimendi, who was really close to joining Liverpool before he had a last-minute change of heart. Could he be persuaded to pitch up at the Etihad? So I do think City will do business.
You made such a good point earlier on, Alex. Nottingham Forest fans, if you're watching this at the moment, you must have a high degree of expectation that some kind of business will be done. I wonder if the likes of Marinakis is going to rattle the piggy bank in this window and give some funds to Nuno Espirito Santo, because they are having a blinding season, Alex. And you would think there's a difference from having a season that could be memorable to making a season that could be extra special for Forest fans. This is the time to do business.
It is, because sometimes circumstances just fall in your favour. Man City have had a drop-off. Manchester United and Tottenham miles off it, to quote the great Gabriel Bonhor, in terms of qualifying for the Champions League.
Yeah.
So Forest all of a sudden find themselves in a position where they can capitalise. And I know that you've spoken to Marinakis on a couple of occasions. He told you in the afterglow of that playoff final win at Wembley, we're here to do business. You know, we want to win silverware. We want to be back playing in the European Cup. It seemed fanciful at the time. They've got a great opportunity. Yes, I think Forest will do business.
We'll be right across the window from the start to the finish. Alex and I will be bringing you the latest news on this very podcast, and we're delighted to be doing so. Alex, a lot of people say to me around this time, what was your favourite ever move? What was the favourite move that you covered when I was at Sky Sports News, when I was at talkSPORT as well? There have been too many to mention. I often say, this window now might produce the biggest ever. You never know. What's the one that stands out for you?
Well, there have been a few, haven't there, when it comes to transfer deadline day. As I say, it was a bizarre one in that recent window when we were all over the Raheem Sterling story. But I think the one that always stands out from a Manchester United perspective is Alexis Sanchez from Arsenal playing the piano in his announcement video, and everybody got very excited. I got very excited. He made his debut, I think I'm right in saying, in the FA Cup away from home at lowly Yeovil, and he was brilliant that night. And I remember texting Adrian Durham saying, this boy Sanchez is going to fit right in. And he said, mate, calm down. Yeah. It's Yeovil. And I think it's probably where Sanchez's United career peaked.
Let us know what your favourite transfer is from years gone by. For myself, so many to mention. Mesut Ozil going to Arsenal. I remember that night very vividly indeed. My colleague at Sky, Geraint Hughes, was down there. Ozil signed for Arsenal a deal worth up to £42.5 million at that stage. He became the most expensive German player ever at that time. Kept on going down to Geraint at the Emirates. Is it done yet? Is it done yet? No, it's not. No, it's not. And then when the news came in, Geraint Hughes was surrounded by Arsenal fans who danced the night away. And he was a real favourite for a lengthy period of time until, as usually happens with these matters, the tide turned a bit. And many Arsenal fans at the end of it all were probably pleased to see him go. There will be a special one in this one, just as there has been many special ones in the past, like Fernando Torres. Really? Going from Liverpool to Chelsea? Oh, yes, he did. Berbatov going to United on the night that Robinho looked like going to Chelsea, but ended up going to Manchester City. We'll have a few of those moments as well, and this man and I will be right across the lot. We're delighted to have brought you this, the debut show of the talkSPORT Transfer Notebook. Join us throughout the month, and we'll bring you all the movers and shakers as they happen.